Welcome to the July 5th, 23 meeting of the City Council. I now call this meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I ask that anyone else in the audience who is recording this meeting to please identify themselves for the record now by standing and stating their name and city of residence. Seeing none, at this time, I ask that all electronic devices be placed into silent mode. Councillor Green, would you please lead us in the salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councillor Green.
Here.
Councillor Schultz.
Here.
Councillor Squire.
Present.
Councillor Van Hassinger.
Here.
President Zarella.
Here.
Councillor Boschman. Councillor Kuchar.
Here.
Councillor Cragen.
Here.
Councillor Cruz.
Here.
Councillor Di Natale.
Here.
Councillor Fleming.
Here.
We have 10 members present.
Thank you very much. We have no remote attendees for public comment this evening. Anyone in the audience wishing to participate in the public forum may approach the center podium, identify yourself by name and city of residence, and the item on the agenda on which you would like to speak, and you may then speak for not more than 2 minutes.
Jacqueline Wetchy, Fitchburg resident, speaking on agenda item 188-23. For too long, our city leaders have acted like grants or manna from heaven, but they all come with strings. This is why in October 2021, New Hampshire's Executive Council rejected $27 million in federal COVID funds. The grant before you tonight covers vaccinations already widely available with no out-of-pocket costs. When you keep approving inflationary spending because you think our piece of it isn't significant, it creates a society where everything from housing to food is exorbitantly priced. It's very hard to raise children, and good luck maintaining a job when at any time the government can shut down schools and daycares. So birth rates are declining, and that's one reason Leominster Hospital is closing its maternity ward. It's time for everyone to put on their big boy and big girl clothing and stop the government spending spree. We can't just raise our pay 30% like the councillors or 50% like the mayor. Have some compassion for ordinary people. Rejecting this grant is one way we can fight inflation at the local level, since we have no control over things like the war in Ukraine. Everyone seems to think their little piece of the spending puzzle doesn't matter, but it's death from 1,000 cuts for the middle and working classes. There's a saying that you got to dance with them that brung you, and when you accept these grants, you give the federal government unlimited powers, including to shut down schools and businesses again. They can even force addicts to sit amidst all their familiar triggers, looking at a Zoom screen instead of receiving the in-person rehab they need, which is why agendas 189-23 and 190-23 deserve committee discussion. Please vote no on this.
Any further public comment at this time? Seeing none, we will proceed with our agenda. We have several announcements. First, I'd just like to say I hope everyone had a happy 4th. I know I did. It was a blast with the block party and the parade. And I'm glad to see almost everyone back. I know Councillor Boschman is planning to Zoom in. I don't know if he's having difficulty getting in. I know I had some email difficulties earlier this evening. The next meeting of the Widowed Helping Widowed Support Group will take place on Thursday, July 13th from 4 until 5:30 p.m. in room 203 at the Fitchburg State University Recreation Center, 130 North Street. Kelly Lynn and Bernie Schultz will co-facilitate the meeting. I'd like to take a moment to recognize 2 individuals who have served this city. Both of these recognitions should have been made last week, but we didn't have any meetings. So first, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for Lorraine Rousseau, who served the city as its city clerk and served the city in total for approximately 28 years until her retirement in 2001. She served, I never had the opportunity to work with her myself, but I'm told that she served with great dedication and love for this city as clerk, as justice of the peace, and as president of the Business and Professional Women's Club in Fitchburg. So if I could have a moment of silence for Lorraine Rousseau, who passed away recently. Thank you. I'd also like to recognize Gary Withington, who retired this month after 28 years working in public works, and most recently as our deputy commissioner of, or superintendent of streets, I believe was the official title. I don't have it written down here. Thank you. And tree warden. He has served this city for a long time to great effect and with great dedication. He was an excellent manager, scheduler, equipment overseer, and always had a handle on everything that was in his care. We owe him a great deal of gratitude for his service and wish him all the best in whatever he chooses to do in what I hope will be a long and enjoyable retirement. I'd like to have a round of applause for Gary, please. And that concludes our announcements. Next we will have the report of the Appointments Committee. Councillor Kuchar.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Appointments Committee met earlier this evening. We took up two new appointments. First appointment was for the Fitchburg Cultural Council, term to expire July 1st, 2026. Ellen Doust, which was unanimously approved. And then a new appointment to the Fitchburg Council on Aging, term to expire July 1st, 2026. Todd A. Goodwin, which was unanimous.
Move to accept the report of the committee.
Second.
I have a motion and second to accept the report of the committee. If there is no objection, we will take it by unanimous consent. Seeing none, it is approved. Next, we have the report of the Committee on Records. We don't have Councillor Boschman with us this evening, but he asked me to fill in. So I will confirm for the Council that the committee has reviewed the records and they appear to be in order.
Move to accept the report.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Seeing no objection, it is approved unanimously. We have two communications from His Honor the Mayor. One appointment of two permanent full-time firefighters, Francis J. LeBlanc and Brendan V. Byrne. Those will stand referred to appointments. And then a slate of poll workers for the period of September 1st, 2023 through August 31st, 2024. Those will also be referred to appointments. Report of the Public Safety Committee. Councillor Green.
Yes, thank you. Our members met tonight for petition 12623, A&R Automotive Group to petition for a Class 2 dealer's license located at 19 Dwight Street. That was granted unanimously, and it was noted that Mr. Santiago Lopez has been in business for 8 years at that location doing auto repair and towing, and was thrilled to be able to expand his business here in town. We wish him the best of luck as he continues to want to stay and expand his business.
Move to accept the report of the Public Safety Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and second to accept the report of the Public Safety Committee. Seeing no objections, it is approved. We have two orders for finance. Since there's only two, I'll read them off. One is that the City of Fitchburg hereby approves the expenditure of funds from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs FY24 Greening the Gateway Cities Program Implementation Grant Award. They can't name anything short at the state, can they? in the approximate amount of $88,650 for the purpose of said grant, which is to achieve tree planting, promote stewardship and appreciation of Fitchburg's trees, for the environmental benefits and energy savings that a healthy tree canopy brings to the residents of the city. And then 19723 ordered that the City of Fitchburg hereby approves the expenditure of funds from the same grant in the approximate amount of $12,944 for the purpose of said grant, which is to assist DCR Urban and Community Forestry as they plant trees in target neighborhoods in Fitchburg to increase tree canopy cover for environmental and energy efficiency benefits. Those will both be referred to the next meeting of the Finance Committee. Now, I have requests that a number of items, 186 through and including 19023, be pulled from their respective committees and considered this evening. This does not require a suspension of rules, but it does require a motion, second, and majority vote.
Suggest suspension of rules.
Excuse me? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I just missed that when I was reviewing the agenda.
Oh.
It does not actually require a full suspension.
Motion.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second to pull these items from the Finance Committee and consider them this evening. If there is no objection, I will take this by unanimous consent. Seeing no objection, we will now take up 18623, order that there be and hereby is transferred from within the sum of $10,000, same to be transferred from Police Personal Services Patrolman and credited to Police Personal Services overtime.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for taking this up this evening. Just to reiterate, though, this is an expenditure from last year, which we identified before the end of the fiscal year, and it just got pushed to this meeting. So this wasn't something that got by us, just at the end of the year transition. During the month of June, we experienced come back in front of the council twice this year requesting additional funds into my overtime being taken from within our budget. We thought we had it down to the penny, but unfortunately June turned out to be a significant event with a significant month with different events happening. One of the largest was the rollout of these body cameras and the training of 90 police officers and what that entailed. And after we put together what we anticipated spending through the end of the fiscal year, we realized we were going to be around $8,000 to $10,000 short. I requested the transfer from within my budget to accommodate that last part of the FY23. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve the transfer. If there is no objection, it is approved.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. 18723, order that there be and hereby is transferred from within the sum of $50,000, same to be transferred from Health Sanitary Landfill Expenses Contracted Services and credited to Health Rubbish Removal Expenses Contract Fees for the purpose of covering rubbish removal costs for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Good evening, councilors. Councilors, this is a transfer from within the department due to the fact that diesel prices doubled within the last year and actually doubled the projection for the year. We did reduce costs quite a bit. This cost could have been quite larger, but we did reduce, we're able to reduce especially yard waste cost due to bad service that curbside collection experienced. So the debt wasn't as big as it could have been.
Councilor Gianatali?
Yes.
So the cost to Waste Management was less?
Yes, this is basically a fuel, the fuel portion of the contract basically has an escalator. So anytime the cost of gas went over $3.11, we were charged extra for it per month.
Do we, Mr. President, when are we having the meeting on having these guys before us?
Actually, I was going to talk to you about that tomorrow now that the civic days are over and everything.
Okay. All right. I'll hold my firepower until then.
Councilor Squalia.
Thank you. How much did we fine them or otherwise hold back from Waste Management for the many, many months and years of poor service? Or just in the last contract period?
I don't have the figure in front of me, but it's somewhere around $40,000.
40,000 we held back, and then they want another 50 based on within their contract for the escalating gas prices.
So on a monthly basis, there is an escalation fee in for gas. So we've been watching this throughout the year. It's adjusted every 6 months. So we're paying this on a monthly basis. So basically, we're just looking to cover the final month, which is June. Or a portion thereof. This isn't the entire fees. The fees average about $152,000 a month. This is just to get us to cover the cost for the entire fiscal year.
Right, so the fees are $150,000, $200,000 a month, and we've fined them $40,000 over the past year?
Correct.
And is that within the contract some sort of minimum that, or maximum that we're allowed to hold back from them? Because that feels very insignificant compared to...
Various things happen with the contract. Many times it was more money to withhold funds when they were behind. So at the end of the month, if they were behind a day or 2 days, we would charge them or not let them charge us for those 2 days that they were behind. And that's basically how we got to the $40,000. One event, if you recall, back in November, when no yard waste was being picked up, we did have the DPW pick it up. So we did negotiate over about $30,000 for that event as well. But that was never paid to the DPW. It's still in this account. But we were not charged for that yard waste entirely.
So does that kind of equal 70,000?
It's somewhere around there, yes.
Okay.
So, councilors, I am going to ask that we hold any general dissatisfaction with waste management questions until we have that larger meeting with them in front of us. Right now, I'd like to stick just to the covering the fuel expenses question. Councilor Cruz.
Yeah, I've had more, but I guess we'll hold off. Thank you, Mr. President. So let me get, if I'm getting this right. So contractually, when their diesel prices go up, we cover that for them. That's contractual.
Can you ask that question again, Councilor?
So is it in the contract that when the diesel prices go above $3.11, we...
$3.11, the price of gas.
Yeah. And
it is, yes.
And we cover that for their trucks?
On a monthly basis, yes. Adjusted every 6 months.
I guess I'll hold off. That's absurd. I yield the floor.
Councilor Green.
Will that be part of the contract moving forward with Harvey? Do they have the same terms as far as like overage?
It is still in the contract, but they do not wish to charge us that escalation.
Okay, and is that...
So they have agreed not to let us not pay it, and we've agreed not to pay it.
Awesome. Has that always been...
That was the first time it was in a 5-year contract, the last 5-year period that I've seen.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any further? Councilor Fleming.
They're going to be continuing to pick up our recycling, correct?
That's correct.
Is that still going to be in the contract? Is that continue?
That is a different contract. That is a contract that is serviced under the Fitchburg Westminster landfill.
Okay.
Not the curbside contract.
So we will not have to pay that above $3.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Further questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and second to approve. If there is no objection,
I object.
all right. In that case, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. In opposition? 3, 4 in opposition.
5, 1.
5?
Cruz, Kuchar.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fleming.
Getting higher on
Better
temps.
do that.
Yeah, okay. So it looks to me like the motion fails 4 to 6. Do I have any alternative motion for disposing of this petition? Councillor Green?
I guess my question would be, since this didn't pass, or to the finance chair, what are our options? What are our available options?
Go ahead.
I want them here. Now, I know Mr. Curry has been diligent. He said $70,000. They're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. How much are we talking here?
50,000.
50 grand.
That's an estimate.
Okay.
That's an estimate to
50
cover the
grand
cost
for-
till the end of the fiscal year of
Mr.
22.
Curry, I'm
We
not-
haven't got bills for June, so it's just completely estimate. It could be much less.
I know the position you're in. I don't envy your position, and I don't want you to take any credit. This has nothing to do with you. To me, you babysit them. All right? You're kind of a de facto employee of that company with no reimbursement. So what we're going to have to do is, I mean, if these guys are kidding if they're going to want more money, I don't care if it's in the contract. Where are the parts in the contract where we've been very lenient with them? Okay? Understood, you didn't have to be. We're trying to work together here. All right? For the amount of crap we've had to take for 2 years from these guys, and I don't care about the excuses anymore. All right? 50,000? Yeah, that's going to cost them a meeting with us, at least. All right? Because my concern now is because they're now off the hook on services that they themselves said 2 years ago they didn't care if we took away from them because the real money's with the other contract where they run our landfill. All right? They're now offering us freebies for recycling. So now they get to do whatever they want now because it's free. Well, 50 grand? Yeah. They owe us a lot more than 50 grand.
So,
We've been a partner of theirs for how long now? 20 years? How long have we been in business with them?
I would estimate somewhere around 40 years.
40 years. And they run our landfill, and they give us crumbs from it. They make out like bandits over there.
just keep your powder dry, and we'll talk about setting that meeting.
Yep.
And in the meantime, I would like to ask, what position are we in terms of default on the contract if we hold this matter until let's say until September, because we'd end up setting the meeting near the end of this month, and then we've got August recess. Would we be liable under the contract at that point, or do we have a grace period of some sort for actually paying this money?
I believe we do have a grace period. I don't believe September would extend or allow us to extend till September. That's kind of a long time.
Well, I would ask then, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just don't want to make you elaborate more than you need to. I would ask that you reach out to them. I'll talk with both you and Councillor Ginatali tomorrow, and please reach out to them and find out whether they would intend to enforce that, to hold us in default if we schedule a meeting for the end of the month and hold this matter. Just let me know so that I can disseminate that to the council and we can proceed accordingly. Because I feel it's good that we at least know whether we're going to be getting into a legal dust-up with them and make that choice intelligently rather than unintentionally.
So if I may, Council, we would receive an invoice that would most likely be due July 31st or August 1st, along those lines. So I will withhold that until I speak with you.
All right, excellent. And we will, Councillor Schultz.
I just had a question, Steve. Will they continue to pick up our recycling if we're in default as 50,000?
Well,
in other words, do we have a plan B if they decide not to stop?
It's two separate.
It's two separate contracts. So, I mean,
Councillor Fleming.
Yeah, and their invoicing, do they have, if not paid within a certain amount of time, they add a percentage on there?
I don't believe there's any penalties of that nature.
Okay, so-
I'd have to double check on the
But even with
contract, but
that,
I
then
don't
they're
believe so.
Probably good, as long as there's not, percentages that are, after this, you're going to have to pay X amount percent of how many days it's late, so, okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Gianatali, I apologize, but you have already spoken twice on this matter. Councillor Green?
Speaking on that specifically, if we didn't suspend the rules tonight, we would have been looking at an end of July meeting for finance anyway, correct, on this?
If it fails this evening,
Right, but it was only through our good graces that we even took it up under suspension, where it would normally have to go to finance, which
Correct.
would be not until a later date in July. They would have invoiced us July 31st, and are we not on a net 30, 60, or 90 days with them for invoices?
yes. So we have not received the June invoice yet, but I would assume that would come any day now.
Okay.
And be due somewhere around August 1st.
So if we had to bump out the payment until the first week of September or approve the expenditure in September, no real fault on us, right? Because we take the month of August off as,
Right.
even in finance, you know what I mean, making
I
that.
can't guarantee their response, but I would certainly discuss it with them.
Okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate the diligence that you've done in dealing with this. I know it has not been easy, so thank you.
I'd like to entertain a motion to hold this matter until such time as we can have our hearing with the Waste Management
So moved.
in front of us.
Second?
I have a motion and second to hold this matter. Any opposition? Seeing none, it will be held. All right, 18823, order that the City of Fitchburg hereby approves the expenditure of funds from the National Association of County and City Health Officials, NACHO, grant in the approximate amount of $25,000 for the purpose of said grant, which is to address issues of vaccine equity.
Councilors, this is an extension of last year's grant. It's much smaller. We have been allowed to utilize the $25,000 for supplies for clinics. It's not just COVID clinics, it's whatever clinics we are running. We already have flu clinics lined up throughout the 13 communities in the Montezut Public Health Network, and this will allow us to purchase supplies for those clinics. I believe we have 27 already scheduled for the fall.
Councillor Green?
Mr. Curry, can you, just for my own benefit and knowledge, can you define vaccine equity?
Sure, this was the goal of the original grant. This extension has sort of gotten away from that, other than we're to advertise a little bit more and attract those folks that may not be willingness to get a vaccination.
Okay, and again, not just for COVID, you're talking
That is correct.
flu.
It's flu. Flu, COVID, and whatever other else vaccine we have in our clinics in the fall.
Okay,
We're also looking
shingles?
at school clinics in September, where annually Worcester does something similar to this, so we're trying to work that out. But every school year, many students enter school without their requirements for vaccination. So we are looking to partner with Fitchburg as well as the other communities that struggle, trying to get children into school and try to, in August and September, scrambling to get their vaccinations. So we're looking to do a program very similar to that in August and September to help with any vaccine that's necessary, that's needed to go to school. not just COVID, not just flu, whatever is the need.
Okay. And to the people most in need, correct? I mean, that's really what we're saying, to those that have had no means to get it done on
Correct.
their own or didn't know that this was a requirement. This is to help
Or
them.
just having trouble getting it from their primary care physician.
Okay. Thank you.
Or if they don't have a primary care physician, which is a lot of the case.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Fleming?
Yes, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do recall when I was on school committee, I had asked about vaccination, and what I was told at that time was that we are not allowed to ask these families if the kids have been vaccinated or not, that they're allowed in school regardless of vaccination status. So my assumption with that is they're not getting vaccines because the family doesn't believe in them.
There are exemptions, and families must apply for them if they wish to have an exemption. But if you do not have an exemption, you are required to have certain vaccinations to attend school.
Okay, and, well, I was told we weren't even allowed to ask, that they had to let all children regardless. That's what I was told. So that obviously has changed since my time on
I don't
school
believe it's
committee.
changed. It really depends on the vaccine.
Okay. No more questions. Thank you.
Councilor Schultz?
Thank you, Councilor Zarella. Are there any stringent requirements for accepting this grant, Steve?
Stringent requirements?
Anything that we have to do that, that would be difficult for us to meet?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Council.
Grant assurances,
Grant
grant
assurances.
conditions.
Conditions for accepting it.
The budget said, I mean, we are allowed to purchase supplies to run the clinics.
Yeah.
It's
So
approved.
there's no specific conditions that you have to meet to accept the 25,000?
Well, the expenditures have to be allowed by the funders, yes.
Okay. Is that going to be an issue?
No, that we're already approved for it.
Thank you. I
Move
yield
to
the floor.
approve 18823.
Second.
I have a motion and second. If there is no objection,
Objection.
oh, objections, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. In opposition? 3 in opposition. Motion carries 7-3. 18923. Order that there be and hereby is appropriated the sum of $140,000 from Reserve for Appropriation Opioid Settlement and credited to the following health opioid settlement accounts. Personal service outreach worker, $80,000. Personal services coordinator stipend, $10,000. And expenses contracted services, $50,000. Go. You can introduce it first.
Very quickly, councilors, we are looking to keep our current street outreach program going with this proposal. We would be, as stated, looking for, or to continue with our outreach street worker. We'd like to, presently that individual is a contractor. We would like to make that individual a city employee. We would like to have these settlement funds cover the fringe benefits associated with that. So that is a goal, one of the goals during the grant. Obviously, also is to meet the requirements of the settlement funds and meet the deliverables. And we'd also like to have about $50,000 to give mini grants of $5,000 to $10,000 each to those agencies that can meet the requirements and criteria of the grant. We'd like to have the Board of Health oversee that process of the $100,000 or the $50,000 mini grants, and overall oversee the entirement of the settlement funds, because the settlement funds do require a board to oversee it. That's basically in a nutshell. I mean, I can get in more detail, but I think questions would probably clarify better.
All right. Before we go to that, Auditor Cronin, I remember in the email chain, there was something to do with 189 and 19023 being alternative options or something. Could you explain that?
That's correct. So the substance of the, of this order number 189 and 190, it's just, the explanation is the same. However, the availability of funds is an issue. And right now there's a House bill pending that would allow us to appropriate those opioid monies without going through the free cash, appropriate the free cash system. So that, unfortunately, as I left tonight, that I haven't received an email that that's passed. So therefore, we would jump to the second order. It's sort of an either-or in order to accomplish what Director Curry's trying to do and maintain the outreach worker services.
And can I have the number of that House bill?
3545, I believe. So in other words, 18923 could be set aside for when that House bill passes. But in the meantime, in order to maintain the services of the outreach worker, you would probably want to, we would want to move forward on 19023, because those funds are available, and it would at least keep the outreach worker in business. Right?
Makes sense. And I would advise the council that we basically have two options with 18923. We could either hold it pending the passage of the bill, or we could amend it to be conditioned on the passage of the House bill. And I have no strong preferences one way or the other. Councillor Squalia?
Okay, so the 19023 we should pass so that it covers our street outreach worker through
until the House bill passes.
Until we expect the House bill passes.
Yeah, and then the opioid funds would be available to do for the same purpose.
And until the House bill passes, what happens with the opioid bills? How can
the opioid monies?
The opioid funds, yeah.
We've received them. We just can't appropriate them right now. All receipts are pretty much considered general fund money unless there's a law that says differently. So they're trying to pass a law that says you can appropriate them right away.
And the requirements for the opioid settlement funds are within the scope of treating addiction or other mental health services? Is that
correct?
What else is the scope of the opioid settlement funds?
The criteria is to treat opioid use disorder, to support people in treatment and recovery, to connect or allow connections to care, harm reduction efforts. We would also have to address the needs of the criminal justice involved persons, and we would have to support pregnant or parenting women and their families, including babies with neonatal abstinence syndrome, and we would have to prevent the misuse of opioids and implement prevention education. So basically, that would be like our trainings for naloxone.
Okay, and so if we were to pass 18923 pending House bill passage, the 80,000 goes to the street outreach worker and the fringe benefits?
There would be mileage included in that contract for him driving his own vehicle, yes.
And then the 10,000 goes to?
The $10,000 would be for an outreach coordinator to oversee.
Like the
outreach
board
worker
you were talking about?
I'm sorry?
Is that part of the board that would oversee these mini?
No, the $10,000 would go to a person. Sue Christensen would oversee the outreach worker, like she does presently.
Like when we had the 2 outreach workers prior?
Correct.
Okay. And the contracted services, 50,000, that's the $5,000 to $10,000 mini grants portion?
Correct.
With a board that would oversee that. Who would that board consist of? Does that board already exist?
Well, I'm proposing it to be the Board of Health.
Board of
That would we would prepare an application process very similar to CDBG, and then the board would decide on the applicant's awards.
Okay, and so this 140,000 that we're spending now pending the House bill, for the street outreach worker that would become a city worker, for the future years, we're expecting the future opioid settlement funds to fund that for a period of, what, 4 years?
Right. Somewhere right now there's around $350,000. We're trying to keep it low so we can keep the program running for a couple of years, and that's sort of the idea. Sustain it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Green?
You know, I applaud the effort, but I get a little hung up with these grants where they're so kind of micro-specific, you know, opioid settlement, but, you know, we haven't talked at all about mental health of people that aren't addicted to opioids, or that people who are just having mental health crises, and how are we addressing that portion of our population, which is ever present in our community? So I have a hard time, you know, with it being specific with opioid and that type of an addiction component to it, when we haven't talked enough or funded enough about our mental health residents that are struggling every day.
We do work very closely with the police department. They have a clinician addressing mental health issues. We meet on a weekly basis and discuss encounters with our homeless population and any other folks that come looking for services. You are correct. There is mental health issues. I don't have all the answers for you before you, but
I know, I commend the effort.
when we encounter them out in the field, we're still going to provide as much service and connection to services that we can. We're not going to say no to somebody that needs the mental health piece of this whole thing, if that is the answer.
So then, okay, knowing that, what component or what portion or what does the Board of Health have in place, if anything, specifically for mental health outreach, or what are the resources that you are capturing or using to provide the services?
The board is bound by the requirements of the settlement funds. If those change in the near future, then the board would have some say in it. But at present, it really doesn't address mental health without the opioid or the addiction piece.
Councillor, it's largely an issue of just funding streams. Certain funding streams can only go to certain purposes.
Right, I
and it's
get
kinda,
the earmark.
Take it or leave it on the
Right.
table.
And again, I don't want to leave money like this on the table, but I'm worried that, I mean, that's a lot of money, $140,000.
There's nothing that stops agencies involved with mental health applying for these mini grants that we're proposing.
And are those mini grants, have you already decided that there's going to be $5,000, $10,000 awards, or $10,000, $5,000
No,
awards?
I think we were doing $2,500 and $5,000 to start.
Okay.
I can share what we've already come up with for a plan, but we're looking at smaller mini grants such as $2,500 to $5,000.
All right, so that many agencies could apply for it.
Correct.
And out of the $80,000 for the outreach worker, what is the yearly salary of that position that you're asking us to take on as a city employee? What would be the base salary?
It would be less than the $80,000, but the fringe and the mileage that it's associated with it would probably bring it over the $80,000.
And that's for one outreach
It's hard to
worker?
predict what the employee's fringe benefits are. I don't know if he's going to accept health insurance or,
All right, so this would be like a regular city employee working through our HR department, correct? With a job
Correct.
description and,
correct.
so could other people apply for it that would interested? I mean, does it
I would
go out
assume
for
that the
bid?
job would have to be posted, yes. And folks would be able to apply.
Okay. And would this run with our fiscal budget, like July 1st to June 31st of next year? Or has this already been awarded for this year?
We already have the funds.
Okay.
But I don't believe the settlement funds will show up in the budget. I always tried to be as transparent as possible in the budget, so if allowed, I would show the expenditure or the personal services expenditure and the grant that pays for it in the budget if allowed.
All right. Thank you very much.
Motion to hold 189-23 until the,
Counselor, would you be willing to hold a moment? I know Counselor Van Hazinga
I'm
had a
sorry, yes.
question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to be clear, Auditor Curran brought up the procedural questions. I just want to make sure I have a clear understanding. So the goal is to approve 189.93, which brings this position in-house. But we have to wait for a House bill to pass before that can go into effect. Is that correct?
We can't those funds are not available as of today for appropriation.
So 190.23 would be sort of a temporary appropriation to keep it going as a contracted service.
Correct.
Through Method McKidd. So if we approve both, it would be double dipping kind of. It would cover more than the cost.
Well, I don't think you can approve 189 tonight because they're not technically available. And I'm not sure if you can do a provisional appropriation. I think if you set it aside and you bring it out later when those funds are made available.
So, okay, so if it hasn't passed the House, so we can't do 189, so we'd have to continue that regardless. So we would be looking at passing 190.23. If we pass 190.23, would it change any of the amounts in 189.23?
You would take that up later.
Would you
The
do-
20,000 is to cover the interim.
So it would probably be covering part of that cost. We would initially look
Yes.
to do 189. So that those numbers would change once we get back to it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Cruz.
I believe Councilor Squally was next.
Yes, she's second time on this issue,
Oh, I
so
see. Thank you, Mr.
take
President.
priority, unless you want to wait, unless you want to yield your...
No, that's fine, thank you. I just have a quick question. How is this related to Keith and Kim? Are we losing them?
Kim has left us.
Oh, okay.
We only have Keith presently.
And was there any plans to replace Kim at all with that? Because I know that whole positions were grant funded.
Both of them were paid by grants, different grants. One was paid by the Overdose to Action Grant, and the other one was paid by the Community Health Foundation grant.
I see. So 190.23 would be to keep Keith in the interim, in the meantime.
Keep our current street outreach worker working up until the $20,000 runs out.
I see. Okay, I yield the floor, thank you.
Counselor Squalia?
Yes. So it notes the settlement fund requirements. Members of the committee for the grants must have lived experience or be experts on treatment and prevention or staff an organization working on opioid issues. So how are you going to qualify the individual Board of Health members on this? Is this like just a statement of qualification?
Our newest member has a member of the family that has addiction issues.
Right. I wouldn't doubt that any of them would have those experience, but how do you...
Point of order.
How do you qualify it?
I'm sorry, point of order?
I don't think we're discussing how he's going to hire these workers. We're just discussing the grant. So,
Yeah, Mr. President, this is within this
Yeah, so
specifically is within...
this is actually a condition of the grant acceptance and administration, so it is something that
But we
is
can't-
valid to discuss at the
with
moment.
that being said, we can't do anything with 189.23 until that bill passes.
That's true, but it is before us at the moment, so...
Thank you. So how will we be qualifying the Board of Health to satisfy the settlement fund requirements if this were to be questioned to us from the state.
We would propose to the funders of the members who have association to lived-in experiences, as well as medical experience.
So to provide a statement of the qualification of
Correct.
the fund. Okay, very good.
If so approved.
Thank you.
Any further questions on this? I believe Councillor Fleming had a motion.
Motion to hold 189-23 pending the passing of House Bill 3545.
Second.
I have a motion and second to hold 189-23 until the House bill passes. Any objection? Seeing none, it is approved. 190-23, which
Motion
we have
to
already
accept
discussed.
190-23.
Second.
All right, motion and second to approve 190-23. Any objections? It is unanimously approved.
Thank you, Councilors.
We have an ordinance in first reading, 198-23. This is amending the parking prohibitions along Game On Way, Industrial Road, and associated areas. With the consent of the council, I will waive the reading of the specific details because they are somewhat technical, but
Move to send 198-23 through its first reading.
Second.
all right, I have a motion and second to pass 198-23 through its first reading. Anyone on the motion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Green.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Squire.
Aye.
Counselor Van Hassinger.
Yes.
President Zarella.
Yes.
Counselor Kuchar.
Yes.
Counselor Cragan.
Yes.
Counselor Cruz.
Yes.
Counselor Di Natale.
Yes.
Counselor Fleming.
Yes.
It passes by 10.
Thank you very much. 199-23 is essentially the same issue with tow zones rather than parking prohibitions.
Motion to send 199-23 to its first reading.
Second.
Motion and second to send 199-23 through its first reading. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Green.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Squire.
Aye.
Counselor Van Hassinger.
Yes.
President Zarella.
Yes.
Counselor Kuchar.
Yes.
Counselor Cragan.
Yes.
Counselor Cruz.
Yes.
Counselor Di Natale.
Yes.
Counselor Fleming.
Yes.
It passes 10.
Thank you very much. 223 is parking prohibitions on Charles Street.
Move to send 223 through its first reading.
Second.
I have a motion and second to pass 223 through its first reading. Madam Clerk?
Counselor Green.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Squire.
Aye.
Counselor Van Hassinger.
Yes.
President Zarella.
Yes.
Counselor Kuchar.
Yes.
Counselor Cragan.
Yes.
Counselor Cruz.
Yes.
Counselor Di Natale.
Yes.
And Counselor Fleming.
Yes.
10 yes.
Thank you very much. Next, we have 183-23, which again, we have a request to pull it from committee due to time concerns. Can I have a motion to pull it from committee?
So moved.
Any objections? All right, 183-23, Councillor Sam Squalia on behalf of Nowoko Pride to paint a rainbow crosswalk inside the existing white ladder painted crosswalks across Boulder Drive and Commercial Street at Cushing Plaza for the 5th Annual Pride Festival on July 22nd, 2023 at Riverfront Park. Painting can be either temporary chalk paint or permanent paint at the discretion of DPW and Fitchburg Police Department.
Correction.
I'll let Councillor Squalia introduce her petition first.
Thank you. So we went over this with the DPW director. He allowed the painting of the crosswalk on a temporary basis with chalk paint. So this can be given leave to withdraw.
Okay. Do we have any?
Tammy's, you know, let's do it. We don't need to vote.
That's right. We do not need the petition.
Okay.
Councillor Fleming?
So, we're giving it leave to withdraw, we're voting on it, right, tonight?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so leave to withdraw would be, we're basically saying it's already taken care of, so.
Oh, okay,
Right.
okay.
So move to give 183, oh,
Councilor Di Natale?
Does this require a police detail?
the DPW commissioner did say that it would require a police detail while we're painting it, yes.
And who's paying for the police detail?
Is that a question?
Yes.
I've been informed that the mayor is paying for the police detail out of his own personal funds.
The mayor is paying for it out of his own personal funds.
That's what I was told.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Councilor Fleming?
I ask, and I ask this to all councilors, when posting anything on Facebook, make sure you give out accurate information so that people understand what's really going on and not
Point of order.
choose to-
Counselor, I understand your point, but that is not germane to the vote before us.
Well, it sort of is.
It I
sort of
understand
is.
where you're coming from, Counselor.
Yeah.
Counselor Cragen?
Sorry. I didn't.
That's okay. No, I just want to say I was very glad to see this here, and I just want to formally thank our mayor for saying that he will pay for this out of his personal funds. That is magnanimous and I think appropriate, but thank you very much.
Counselor Gianitali, did you have something else? All right, Counselor Cruz?
Just want to echo the sentiments of my colleague, Counselor Cragen, and commend the mayor for his support of the LGBT plus community.
And he's always been.
I yield the floor. Thank you.
Can I have, I had a motion to give leave to withdraw.
183-23.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any objection? All right, it has leave to withdraw. Next, we have two Unitil matters, 20123 and 20223. One for a new pole on Beach Street and one for a new conduit from an existing pole along Old Princeton Road. I would like to entertain a motion to set both of those for public hearing on July 18th.
So moved.
Second.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Would you like, can I ask that be withdrawn briefly?
Withdrawn.
I withdraw my second.
Good evening, Mr. President. Mark Frappier, resident of Hubbardston, and I represent Unitil. I am the electric supervisor. So before you, a couple petitions. The first one being the pole on Pratt Street. There's a development of some condo units, and they've requested us to provide service. So we're requesting to set a new additional pole along Pratt Street to provide service to the development. If you had any questions right there.
I think you'll probably get those at the public hearing.
Okay.
But thank you. Thank you for being here to answer, and we'll look forward to seeing you then.
Okay. The conduit question, anything there?
Anything now?
Second one?
Anything that can't be held?
Does he want to explain? Just
Yeah, if you want to just walk us give us a brief overview of the conduit as well.
Certainly. So at the end of Old Princeton Road, Fitchburg, at the end of the pavement, it continues to be a dirt public way to the access of the Flag Pond substation. We're required to upgrade our communications, and Verizon won't do copper lines any longer, so we're going to install conduit from that last pole on the paved way and extend the conduit into the substation along the public way unpaved road, so we can install, or Verizon will install a fiber optic line. So I believe you all have all the drawings and everything associated with that petition. But any questions, I'm here.
Excellent.
To send 201 and 202 to a public hearing on July 18th.
Second.
I have a motion and second to set the public hearing for July 18th. Any objections? It is unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Then I have two items, 20323 to remove the, who actually submitted this one? Oh, we'll figure it out before the committee meeting.
Mr. President, it was Sergeant Boudreau.
Oh, okay, excellent. Thank you, Counselor. To remove the current no parking area on the east side of Snow Street east from Cherry Street to opposite Union Street, and replace it with a 2-hour parking limit to add 10 new parking spots. That is referred to public safety. And Councillor Schultz on behalf of Catherine Tucker of 308 Milk Street to request sidewalk repair in front of 308 Milk Street. That is referred to Public Works. And Councillor Fleming, I do have your item scheduled under other business just after this. Councillor Green?
And just while I have the chief here, does that, if I can,
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
does that petition to change around the street signs, do you have the power to do that, correct? Or does it need to go to my public safety
I
committee?
believe it falls under my purview, under city ordinance.
Can we just not do that? I mean, can we just not have you do that?
I would defer that to the chair of public safety.
I'd prefer that the police department take care of that when it's in their purview to do so.
Then you would need a motion to withdraw, I guess.
I think because I'm not certain on that and because you don't...
I'm not 100% sure.
I'd say let's refer it and it can be pulled from committee and withdrawn at the next council meeting if it turns out there's
Sergeant
no
Boudreau's away on vacation right now, so
I figured where he put
Because I
the petition,
believe our
he's
no
got the right to
parking
do it.
I think the council
zones are
president's
actually off
suggestion
ordinance,
is probably the best.
The time limit is by ordinance, right?
Right. So
Yes.
just to cover all our bases, and if we need to withdraw it, we can later.
Thank you, Chief.
So, all right. So that will stand referred to Public Works with the possibility of being withdrawn in the future. Or Public Safety, rather, sorry. Thank you. Yes, so you all got a copy of this email, both electronically and on the desk. This is something Councillor Fleming and I had discussed previously, and then she and Commissioner Erickson worked out some suggested details. Again, this won't be an enforceable policy directly unless we pass it as a rule, but the chair has broad discretion to run her committee meetings. So for all practical purposes, I would suggest that if there are any objections to this, they be brought up this evening so that we can work them out. Councillor Fleming?
Yeah, I want to explain how this came about. We have several petitions that come forward that we automatically approve, whether it be a berm, trimming bushes, fixing sidewalks, small projects that are part of the everyday process of Public Works. So C-Click Fix already has an option to click all that. In fact, I went through several of them today and submitted many. All this does is hold up the constituent waiting for the hearing, and, you know, if some reason, like the last Public Works meeting, something had to be canceled for unforeseen reasons, these have already been through. We know they're going to be approved, so there's no sense in having the constituent wait a month. Sometimes it's more because if we don't have enough, they're just projects that we're going to do normally. And once we approve them, we never give a time frame anyways. So whether it goes to committee or not, it's not going to get, oh, yes, it's going to be done at certain dates. So this is just a way to get those in the system quicker.
Councillor Squalia?
Thank you. I have no problem with this. I already do this same thing through C-Click Fix or just without a petition. There is just one question I have on the list of this on number 1. It says berm repair. And in the past, small berm repairs have been, I've reached out and I said, does this require a petition? For a small berm repair, no. But for a larger section of berm repair, that I don't know exactly what the qualification is, but a larger section, they've asked for a petition specifically. So I guess what is the length of a berm or the qualifying damage to a berm that would be within our,
I'll
petition
defer to the
process
chair for the moment.
What is suggested through the commissioner is that any question, if you have a question of whether or not it should be submitted as a petition or to him, send him an email first, and he will let you know that we can take care of this, or yes, submit a petition.
Oh, that's perfect. I do that anyway. That's good.
Excellent.
Okay.
Councillor Green?
When it comes to these issues, and even if on C-Click Fix or a petition, when we say, yes, it's been approved, yes, it's been approved, yes, it's been approved, we've got people in each of our, what used to be our own wards, but throughout the city that are still waiting for repairs to happen, and I get it. So, when I had to tell a constituent that her berm repair, extensive berm repair, was on the list and that it was probably going to be 18 months out, where do we fall on, like, okay, we've done our job by C-Click Fix or a petition, but then it ends up on a list, which is now a mile long with very few, not that the DPW is not worker funded, it is worker funded, but there are certainly other potential things that come up that push berm repairs and sidewalk repairs further and further and further down the list. So I don't know how big the list is. Is there ever going to be hey, if you've put in a berm request from 3 years ago, maybe it will get to it in September, October of this year? I just needed more understanding of what that list consists of, and so that I don't have residents saying, I put a petition 3 years ago that was requested for repair that I'm still waiting on, and a new one that just went out today on, hey, you might be looking at an 18-month wait time. And I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I'm not looking for a date, but how do we handle this list of like 1,000 berm repairs?
So if I can address that, if the chair doesn't mind, if I would.
Okay, and then if you missed
tackle that
something, if I
briefly.
could add.
Yeah. So I know Commissioner Erickson did note in his emails back and forth that he's working on some process improvements to C-Click Fix. I don't know the details at the moment. Maybe Councilor Fleming does, but I do know that when I next talk to him, one of the things that I think he could potentially do to address that is when a matter like that, a berm repair or something, is submitted via C-Click Fix, and then it says, your item has been seen and addressed, forwarded to the appropriate people. Maybe they can send a message back to the submitter that says, estimated time to completion, 18 months or something like that. So at least they know how long they're looking at, and that it's not just, they said they took my request, but they must have forgotten all about it because I haven't heard anything about it. Is that something you've had a chance to discuss with them?
Yeah, well, we didn't get into detail, but like you said, he is going to try to fine-tune it so that he can keep it organized when they come in, which, as far as petitions that were approved years ago, I have some that still weren't done when Commissioner Laxo was the commissioner. So it's not that they don't want to do it. It's just a matter of, we all know, manpower. We went through 2 years of not doing anything. These guys were doing everything they could that wasn't related to Public Works. It was related to COVID. So we have a little bit of a backup now, too. So, but they do, when they say they're going to get to it, they do get to it. Because some people will finally say, it's done. They did it. And they're so happy. And I say, yeah, but we could never give you that time. And we apologize. It's what it is. Thank you.
Does that address your concern, at least potentially? Well, just a moment, Councillor.
Oh, you were talking to her. I think you're talking to me.
No. You haven't even voiced your concern.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Right. Again, I don't want to get into the thick of it because you all know the position that I'm in, hearing it from both sides. And that's not a reflection to council. That's it. Home life, and then, residents, chewing in my ear as well. And it's not a fault. It's not a negativity. It's not a fault on any department or department head or workers or anything. It's just that even when we see it on potholes, because I think the last time I looked, there were like 26,000 C-Click Fix issues that have been reported. Well, where does that, I don't know, is my berm repair, 18,000 in that, or is it, number one on the list? I just would like a broader sense of how to respond to the residents who are like, okay, still waiting. I mean, we've got some that are still waiting for potholes,
I guess you
sidewalk
can look at it.
repairs, tree trimming. I mean, it's on a list.
Maybe a
I would just
ticketing
like,
system?
I would just like to know what the list consists of. If it's going to roll out like Santa Claus's gift list on who's naughty and who's nice, I'd just like to know what that list is.
Well, the point is to get this on the list sooner. The longer you wait, the further back on the list it's going to get. So this removes several weeks of waiting to get to a committee. This puts it on the list. You're never going to be able to tell them when it's going to get done, ever, because nothing runs that smoothly. They may be doing this, they plan for it tomorrow, but oh my gosh, now we just had a snowstorm, can't do it. So it's timing, I guess. But it will get on the list sooner than if we wait for it to go to committee.
Right, I'm hardly putting in any petitions for Public Works because
I do.
Because I know Public Works.
Many of them see Click Fix. I did several of them today, so I just think it's going to move the process ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate the effort that went into that. Thank you. I yield.
Councilor Giannatalli?
Yeah, I think my comments would probably be best for direct communication with Commissioner Erickson, just on the matter of follow-up. People are not upset if they have to wait a long time. They just want to know that it's been acknowledged and that they're getting to it in some fashion. There's a reason why Public Works doesn't publish any plans or publish any lists, because as soon as they do, everyone holds them against it like it's the Bible, okay? And if we don't follow that plan or that list, then we all get yelled at. So that's why they don't do it. It's not because nothing exists or there's no list or plan that exists. They have that, all that stuff. They just don't publish it for a reason. But when I submit a ticket, and if a resident sees that it's acknowledged, that's fine. What I need to talk to Commissioner Erickson about is who in his group is looking at this and who's, because many months ago, we would submit tickets and then it would say, thank you, your work order has closed, this is now complete. And then the resident literally sends me a picture that morning saying, where was it complete? And then it would get complete the next day. And I would say to him, whoever is hitting that complete button, can we make sure they hit it after it's done? Because I think what's been happening is, before Gary would say to the group, we're going to hit these places this week, so then whoever does the system goes, closed, and then he gets to it 5 days later. So it helps them out, because it makes it look like we don't, they don't know what's going on, and we know that's not the case. So I'm going to ask him personally, whoever that person is who hits those buttons, let's make sure that they're not button press happy.
As of today, I think that little button's been changed, because all the ones that I have submitted all say were acknowledged. They don't say
closed.
They
Okay.
say was acknowledged. So
all right,
maybe that little glitch has been taken care of. I have not spoken.
And I do know sometimes with C-Click Fix, there'll be 15,000 items out there, and then whomever is responsible will get to them weeks after they're done and close them. For example, today I got 47 emails. Close. And I'm like, yeah, these were done weeks ago. But I know he's got nothing else to do. But I'm just,
It doesn't matter if it's going to go to the committee or CC.
Yeah.
It's going to get done. It's just in how fast. So it's going to get done. It's just going to be submitted sooner than later.
The public needs to understand, from an allocation of resources perspective, that Commissioner Erickson a year ago asked for another streets crew. He asked for 4 people, we gave him 3. Because then he said for that 4th person he wanted a parks and playground superintendent. But the 3 people he's got has allowed him to do more. Problem is that when they're doing potholes and they're also now doing paving, berms take a back seat. And so, yes, it is about prioritization. Potholes and paving take precedence over berms. So he would probably say, I need another crew. Well, of course. So it would be nice to just get that list.
Well, at this point, we could use all the crews we could
But I'll
get.
talk to him in depth later on.
I have Councilor Schultz.
Yeah, my only concern with the new policy is that, a lot of times when we do submit a petition, we're able to, let the resident know that you know, they can come to the committee meeting to express to give us feedback. So, and, you know, recently I've had a lot of berm repairs where there's a lot of runoff that is destroying property, you know, in front of their homes. So I think they would like to come but, you know, if we just put them in see, click, fix, I won't know when, you know.
Well, we won't know when they're being done in
Yeah, so
committee either.
That's my concern, and
Well, that's why, if you're unsure, send it to the commissioner first. That's in there. Because we know it's going to get approved, so even if the resident does show up to speak at that meeting,
well, not everything is approved, Councilor Fleming.
99.9% of the berms are approved, and that's why if you have a question of whether or not you think you should submit a petition
Because I-
or see click fix,
One at a time.
email commissioner first.
I didn't hear the floor yet. But anyway, you know, recently, you know, there's been some, you know, we had, at the committee meeting, we had talk about, well, you know, some berms are more aesthetic pleasing, and others really are addressing runoff issues. So the commissioner would like to prioritize those berms that have runoff issues. So, you know, that's, that whole thing, if it's just in see, click, fix, it's going to be difficult for us to follow up on.
So I would suggest that, and again, this is somewhat of a matter of opinion, but personally, I've always felt that the purpose of having public comment, both at council meetings and at committee meetings, is to give the councilors or committee members information to aid them in voting, to aid them in deciding whether to support or oppose a petition. So if the information that's going to be added is less relevant to whether it's going to be approved or not, and more relevant to how the DPW will subsequently prioritize it after it's been approved, then that might be better communicated to the DPW directly rather than to the Public Works Committee, because the committee can't really like super approve a petition and say, we approve this and do it now. But that's just my thought on the matter.
But I think it gives some information to the DPW as well, if you have the resident there because a lot of times the DPW, they don't talk to the resident like the city councilors do, you know, to get the full impact of their issue.
So this isn't actually anything we need to vote on or anything.
Move to
This
adjourn.
was-
Second?
All right, everyone satisfied? I have a motion and a second to adjourn. No objections. We stand adjourned.